Hello! Apparently I should never say, join me next time, because every time I have, my life explodes. So in the last 6 months, I've moved 3 times, and in one of those areas, I was completely without internet at all. So there was no way to do this. I actually filmed the second part of Comets in my, the first house that I was in. And then I packed up and moved to a place with no internet, could not upload it, moved to another place, Omaha, Nebraska, and then uploaded it there. And then I got a job and moved again to a very rural area, which I am used to. So that's great. So that's what's been going on with me. Basically, I've settled in the middle of nowhere. And it's beautiful, but I can't go anywhere because COVID-19. Frelling Bizneck on board. So what can I do? Obviously, with limited equipment and in a new place, no access to my books, no access to resources I would normally have in order to make a Nerd Next Door video. Not much. I could start from scratch. Or I could just tell you a funny story about the observatory that I used to work at. Honestly, I've never done anything like this before, clearly on my channel, which is limited, but high quality information. So I worked in an observatory for about 6-7 years. One of those years I was volunteering, but the other 6 years I was getting paid, which was nice. It was open to students, it was open to the public, a lot of different people used it. And my job was to basically do the astronomy education and the astronomy outreach for the public. And so people would come in and you would just get all kinds of people. Some people, most people, if I'm honest, were fine. But you kind of got general groups of people that were problems. So I would say that at any astronomy event, star parties, public observatory, there's 3 major groups that you have to watch out for. You've got your astrology people, you've got your UFO people, and the deeply religious. And those are kind of the groups that you know might actually make a problem for you. And to be fair to astrologers and the highly religious, UFO people are easily the worst. I have never met a person who is really into astrology who was as bad as the 20th worst UFO whack job I've dealt with. UFO people are absolutely the worst in this group. They're aggressive, they're very time consuming. Just in general, my experience has been that people that are into astrology kind of live and let live, and then people who are highly religious are usually not coming out to a public observatory on their own time if they're going to sit and be against what they know they're going to hear. It's just kind of rare. And I have met nice UFO people, to be fair to people, but I would say that the Venn diagram of does not play well with other humans and believes in alien abductions is just a circle. With the UFO people and the astrology people, you kind of have to do this dance where you're basically trying to not engage. You're trying to tiptoe around them so as to either not anger them or to not make them sad. And I do feel like that can be exhausting. But religious people, highly religious people that have problems with things like evolution, they're kind of few and far between. However, having said that, I worked in southern Utah. So this was in a southern Utah observatory many years ago. And, pretty much everyone in Utah that's highly religious is Mormon. And the Mormons, they don't really care about evolution. There are Christians that they have a real hard time with the earth being billions of years old. And that's like part of their religion. That's not Mormons. So in general, being in southern Utah, people would come in, and even if I could tell that they were very, very religious, it kind of never became a problem because they didn't have an issue with evolution. But this one time, I had an old lady come into the observatory, and we're talking like probably in her late 90s, maybe early hundreds. That's how old she was. She wasn't like in her 70s. She was absolutely one of those people that you're just like, I shouldn't argue with you because what would even be the point? You know, you are 5 times my age. I'm not going to go down that road with you. So she comes in with her family and we're up in the dome. I'm putting stuff up. I'm, setting up the telescope, getting ready to look at things. And she starts down this road. You know the road. You know where it starts. It starts with dinosaurs. As I'm setting things up, she looks at me and she says, "Where do you think that the dinosaurs come from?" And I was like, what? Because dinosaurs and outer space don't initially seem to be in the same vein. And she says, well, you're a smart young woman. You don't really believe that the Earth is billions of years old. And I just look over at my one other coworker, and the look on his face was just so... like we both, our brains were kind of jamming. Like, what do we do here? And so because it was just her and her family, I felt like, okay, I'll go down this road because I was young and an idiot. So I said, well, where do you think dinosaurs come from? And there's so many things going on here, right? She is much, much older than me. I cannot sit there and pretend like we're on the same footing here. She's just called me a smart young woman. So what am I going to do with that? My coworker looks like a deer caught in the headlights, like he hadn't quite formed a strategy for this. And we both were just sort of like... Also, her whole family was sitting there. I have no idea how many people were on her side. I have no clue if the entire family was like, yeah, Grandma's totally right. The Earth is 4,000 years old. Or if they were just like, there she goes again. Like, there was no way to tell. We were in an observatory dome. It was very dark. Nobody said anything. It basically felt like it was just me and her during this moment. So she comes back with, well, I don't think those scientists have it right. I think that the bones are clay. So I say, well, do you think you could tell the difference between clay and a dinosaur bone, a fossilized dinosaur bone? And she was like, well, yes, I could. And I'm like, well, I think I could too. And I'm not even a paleontologist. So then she says, well, what if dinosaurs really did exist? And now we have their bones. It's as a test from God, right? So I say, so you think that dinosaurs really did live just 4,000 years ago, not 65 million years ago, 4,000 years ago. And then they died. God killed them off. And their bones went into the ground, and now there's no dinosaurs. And she agrees with me. Yeah, that's the story, right? And I just say, well, there's very few animals that have gone extinct in the last 4,000 years that we didn't kill ourselves. If humans were wandering around 4,000 years ago, I feel like we would have a story about this. It would be in something somewhere. The Bible, time, Adam murdered a dinosaur. That didn't work either, because then she says, okay, what if dinosaurs are really old, but they're from another planet? And I'm like, so they built the spaceship, and then they got into that spaceship, and then they drove here. And she's like, well, yeah, they could have been an intelligent species. They make, their own dinosaur spaceships. They get into the spaceship, they come here, and because of the speed at which they're traveling, there's a time dilation. So their bones look older than they really are. Which is amazing, right? Like, that is amazing that she was like, okay, I've heard of time dilation, speed of light. If you're going very close to it, there is a time dilation, right? Right, there is. So that's why the bones look so much older than they really are. That's where we're at this point. And to be fair to her, she's not wrong. There is a time dilation if you're traveling at close to the speed of light, which arguably one would have to do if they were traveling between planet to planet, not like Mars, but like Tau Ceti, you know? So, point to her, yes, technically, if you were traveling close to the speed of light, time would be different for the crew of the ship than it would be for the people left on the planet or on the planet you were traveling to. However, the time dilation wouldn't make you look old. You'd be on the ship. So, point rescinded. Okay, so now we have intelligent dinosaurs traveling in spaceships across unbelievable distances at unbelievable speeds. Crash landing here 4,000 years ago. And now she didn't say this, but it is implied that their spaceships were apparently biodegradable because we don't have those, but we do have their fossils. But because of time dilation, it looks like their fossils are 65 million years old when really they're only 4,000 years old. And why? Why all of this? Because God, who is definitely portrayed by William Shatner in this universe, is testing us. That's the reason. And I said this. I said, just so I can reiterate, just to get this straight. You think that intelligent, time-dilating dinosaurs got into spaceships and came to Earth 4,000 years ago to fulfill the will of God after immediately dying. And I'm just thinking, checkmate. Because she doesn't have a leg to stand on. What is she going to come back with? And she immediately said, yes. And at that point, I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. Like, I had nothing. I had no comeback for that. Again, her family hadn't said anything. My coworker hadn't said anything. I'm just like, well, I'm out. And I didn't have to go to the bathroom. I just didn't know what to do. So I ran away like a coward, went downstairs, sat there for a minute going, And then I, ran back upstairs to the dome. And to be fair to my coworker, Craig, he was at that moment explaining to her how it was actually a Catholic archbishop who came up with the 4,000-year-old Earth. And he, as we all know, was probably wrong. And that seemed to satisfy her, right? She seemed to be like, oh, okay. By the time I came back, I think he'd extended her age of the Earth up to 10,000 years old. So I'm going to call that a win. A win for Craig, not for me. The point is, I lost the argument against time-dilating alien dinosaurs from outer space. No one's mind was changed that day. Some battles are weirder than others.